Om Ayahi Varade Devi Drakshare Brahmavadini Gayatri Chandasangmata Brahmajani Namastute. Om Asato Ma Satagamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrittor Ma Amritangamaya Aviravir Maedhi Rudra Jate Dakshinamukham Te Namang Pahi Nityam Te Namang Pahi Nityam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Divine Mother of the Universe, reveal Thyself in our heart and in our midst. We invoke Thy presence amidst us. Thou art the supreme word of the Scriptures. Thou art the embodiment of knowledge and liberation. Thou art the supreme bridge to immortality. Lead us from unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death, disease and suffering to immortality. Manifest Thyself in us through and through, and protect us with Thy compassionate face. Om Peace. Peace be unto us. Peace be unto all living beings. This morning our subject is the hours of meditation. I'll be reading few verses from the chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord said, "He who does the work he ought to do and does not seek its fruit, he is a sannyasi and he is a yogi, not he who does not work or maintains no sacred fire. Know that what they call renunciation is the same as yoga, O Pandava. For no one who has not renounced his desire can ever become a yogi. For a sage who wants to attain yoga, action is said to be the means. But when he has attained yoga, serenity is said to be the means. When a man has no attachment to the objects of the senses, nor to works, when he has wholly renounced his will, he is said to have attained yoga. He who has conquered himself and is serene in mind is constantly absorbed in the Supreme Self, alike in heat and cold, pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor. He is said to be a steadfast yogi, whose heart, through knowledge and realization, is filled with satisfaction, who, having conquered his senses, never vacillates, and to whom a clod, a stone, and gold are the same. Supreme bliss comes to the yogi whose mind is completely tranquil and whose passions are quieted, who is free from stain, who has become one with Brahman. Thus, making himself ever steadfast, the yogi, freed from sins, easily enjoys the touch of Brahman, which is exceedingly bliss. A yogi striving diligently is purified of all sins, and becoming perfect through many births reaches the supreme goal. The yogi is greater than men of austerities, greater than men of knowledge, greater than men of action. Therefore, be a yogi, O Arjuna. And of all yogis, the one who worships me with faith, his inmost self abiding me, him do I hold to be the most closely united with me in yoga. These are the relevant verses with regard to the topic of this morning. First we need to dwell on what meditation means. Some think it is prayer. In the Christian tradition, particularly among the Benedicts, it is called contemplative prayer, a prayer in silence. It has a language, but uttered in thought. For others, it is thinking or reasoning. There are still others who think it is making the mind void. In the systems of Hindu thought, it has a definite place and a definite structure. In the Sankhya system, Yoga system, Vedanta system, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and in the path of worship of personal God, it is not one of the many spiritual practices which is so often thought of, but it is the culmination and consummation of all spiritual practices, penances, austerities, diet, study of scripture, visits to pilgrimage. All these reach their final point in this stage. So it is a point where all spiritual endeavor reach their fulfillment. The system of Patanjali signifies this as seventh step, which is the last step before the final revelation, the moment before final revelation. So is in Vedanta system. Because after that is called Samadhi, the supreme achievement. The state of meditation, therefore, is not something, strictly speaking, can be practiced, although we think and read and advised. It comes. It is a result of some other thing. It is spontaneous. It cannot be really programmed, although we academically think. It is a continuous and spontaneous flow of mind toward one object. It is a response of the whole mind toward one direction. It is a symphony, insight of many thoughts, many reflexes, many superstitions, and many other functions of the mind, all join into that symphony with their respective notes, but all in harmony. It is not thinking. Thinking is something where the thinker, the thought, and the object of thought remain at respective distances. Thinking is brain-directed, not heart-directed. In thinking, there is a resistance of the heart. That is why thinking is often tiring, boring, dry, as is philosophical thinking and reasoning. Thinking does not give us any nourishment, spiritual nourishment I mean. There is an element of discipline in thinking, and anything which is discipline oriented is not enjoyable. It is more feeling, which is a function of the heart. but passing through thinking. Rather, it is a transcendence of thinking and reaching the realm of the feeling. When feeling comes, it becomes enjoyable. It becomes not only continuous but spontaneous. The practice of meditation in all these systems has a definite structure. It is directed toward one goal. It has a format. There is no question of guesswork here. Almost like mathematics, channeling the mind to a direction, keeping the goal fixed. In brief, when the mind is directed toward one object to the exclusion of all others, it becomes the state of meditation. Some of the thinkers in Vedanta systems consider it a form of brooding. The worldly man broods about his worldly problems and anxieties. This is called spiritual brooding. Brooding has been signified as vritti or bubble. Thought bubbles spontaneously coming up. It's a brooding. The brooding has been called bhavana. Bhavana means a series of thoughts. Bhavana is dependent on bhav, means mood. One cannot have a spontaneous bubble of thoughts about something unless a person feels the mood to do it. Mood depends on culture. In any matters of life, we do not feel mood unless we have done it for some time. A habitual modification. Patanjali in his aphorism says, Satu nirantara dirghakala satkara sevito dridha bhumi. Dridha bhumi means it has taken the form of a modification. Dridha means form. When someone satu dirghakala, for a long period of practice, nirantara, uninterrupted, not today something, some period tomorrow. Satkara sevito means practiced with enthusiasm and devotion, love, not being prodded or dictated or out of fear. Then only it takes the form of this modification. Then again, in one aphorism says, Pratyekatanutta dhyanam. State of meditation is Vaikatanutta, means symphony, like orchestra. Varieties of instruments that play, often at point, often at counterpoint, but in perfect harmony. There is one wave is being created, and in that some are contributing positively, some are contributing negatively. That is the state. In Judeo-Christian tradition, it is called soul in flame, lighted, in ecstasy. State of meditation is a lower form of ecstasy. Means it has reached a state where one can participate and enjoy. So it comes to this, it is a state of mind culminated as a result of long practice, guided by both heart and the head, and it has become steady flow to which the meditator is participating. One does not practice meditation, one participates in it. a wrong concept that I am meditating. Because I am trying to meditate, it is not possible for meditation to develop. There is an element of tension there, effort. But when I am participating, which requires witnessing, then I enjoy. In this participation, the mind participates in several levels. First, buddhi participates, intellect, which is the finest part of the mind, decision-making faculty, intellect, which is also the leader of other faculties, willing, feeling, thinking. First, buddhi participates. Then, feeling participates, the emotions. Then, participation in action. When all the three or four, they participate, then it picks up momentum. When only one or the other participating, its intensity is less. Let's say a person does not feel, goes to the state of meditation, mechanically does. Their participation of the intellect is there, but not of the emotion. An awareness. Hence, I want to meditate is also a practice of meditation. It is wanting. I want, but I am unable to develop this state. This is called Abhyasa Yoga, Sri Ramakrishna describes. Yoga of practice. Whether I succeed or fail, that is not a point. But I am aware. With the awareness of the intellect, conscious wanting, when the heart joins emotions, then it picks up intensity. One must feel for something to enjoy. Most important in this respect. Any matter religious, one has to feel. Unless one feels, there is no religion, frankly speaking. Then feeling and thinking, they are passive, uncreative, unless that feeling is translated into tangible activities in everyday life. Any thought which we feel, think intensely, we like to translate that thought in the form of tangible everyday activity. Only then it gives us enjoyment. Only then we gain confidence in what I thought and felt. So the state of meditation, therefore, it is seeing rather than seeking. It is feeling rather than thinking. It is dwelling and being rather than moving and becoming. The state of meditation remains supported by concentration. Concentration by withdrawal, mind withdrawn. Withdrawal by a steady mind and posture. And that remains supported by our day-to-day living. A contemplative is like a plant. The plant remains rooted on the everyday life soil. In the beginning, the plant is small, fragile. It requires to be hedged around. It must be given water, fertilizer. Above all, it must remain in one pot and in one place. Then the plant grows, develops into a big trunk. Then the branches issue forth. with its healthy leaves. Then come the flowers with their fragrance. Then comes the fruit. When the flowers have come, fruit is not far behind. The hour of meditation, therefore, is a call. Call to detach. Call to withdraw. Call to enter into the inner recess, leaving behind everything. Call to get intoxicated. Call to enjoy. But for few, this call is a real call. Many do not feel this call. Those who feel, again, they cannot actualize it successfully. Still fewer, they try, succeed partially perhaps. In matters meditation, many begin, but few come up to the finish. For many, it is a curious combination of idealism, romanticism, guided by rationalization. For the vast majority, it is a pastime or a hobby, often an attempt with reservation. But reason for this is not far to seek. What could be the reason? That many begin but few make it a reality. First, many do not think of preparing. There are three things: preparation, practice, perfection. In any matters, we need to prepare. Preparations give us fitness. To follow anything, we need to have fitness. But everybody, irrespective of fitness, we think we are all fit for meditation. Nobody wants to be beginner. Everybody wants to begin from the top and often go toward the bottom. Second, their practices are not proper, not by right means, casual. After the initial enthusiasm is over, we are left on the hard ground. And then comes the turbulence. We become disheartened and we drop out. There are a large number of dropouts in this path. Many think this is one of the spiritual practices. Often they think, should I pray or meditate? Often think, as an alternative. Which the Vedantic thinkers do not think that way. To consider the points of imbalances in practice, the success in meditation comes when it is a practice for all time. This is one point to consider. One cannot be a saint, morning 1 hour and evening 1 hour, rest of the time a sinner or a casual person. One cannot be spiritual only in the morning and evening, rest of the time secular. Earlier I said, it is a brooding, it is a refrain. After hearing the beautiful music, a refrain continues in the mind. That is the state of meditation. It repeats by itself. Or, it has been described a state through an analogy. A cow on a wintry day, after having eaten its fill, lying down in the sun, with half-closed eyes, chewing the cud. The perfect analogy. Meditative state. The cow first has to eat its fill, spiritual food. Satisfied. That is why half-closed eyes, dozing, when you are satisfied. Then chewing the cud. What it had eaten, it is again recalling into the memory. And an uninterrupted brooding continues. Second analogy, that a person being very tired falls asleep. Here the person does not fall asleep consciously. He is taken over by the sleep. Sleep takes over the person, unconsciously. Similarly, a person who is weary of the world's false hopes, promises and prospects is taken over by this state. Really it is, a person is not praying or meditating, but it is the object of worship pulling, taking over slowly. It is called infilling of nature, Patanjali describes. Water dammed somewhere, you break the dam. You are not bringing water. Water is flowing out of its own volition, flooding. That is the state. For many, meditation means only 2 hours, morning and evening. There is no connection between the hours of meditation and non-hours of meditation. We think only morning and evening, if a person sits few minutes, then it will be attained. Rest of the time, we can do anything. Or we can follow pursuits which need not be spiritual. The result is a failure, or dryness, or uninteresting pursuit. So Ramakrishna says that one who eats radish, he belches out radish. What we have eaten, we will yawn and belch out that food smell. Non-meditation hours, which constitute the major part of our time, what we do, we would belch out that during the meditation hours. And this is what it happens. So the 2 hours, hours of meditation and hours of non-meditation, they have a connecting link. One cannot go without the other. Practice between the 2 hours, they are bound to fail unless the non-meditation hours support those 2 hours or 4 hours or 3 hours. It must be supported. Supported by what? Other spiritual pursuits. As before I said, unless yoga is for whole life and whole time, there is no such thing as yoga. It has to be for all time, and for the whole mind. Because the same mind is used during the meditation hours and non-meditation hours. During the hours of meditation, we do not bring a different mind to meditate. And then you come out, we take up another mind for our work. So since it is same mind, then the two must join. The hours of meditation must support, invigorate the non-hours, and non-hours must complement, support my hours of meditation. In other words, my non-meditation hours, which is the hours of activity, daily life, must be sandwiched by the two meditation hours. When it is sandwiched from two sides, the meditative insight percolates and it spiritualizes the whole field. Question will come, then how can I meditate while I work? I'm running for the subway, I have to catch a train, plane. If I meditate, I may cause an accident. Many people feel troubled. How can I work, do my other chores, and at the same time meditate? These thinkers point out that we do that in a very intense capacity in other matters. We answer telephone and also watch TV. That is one. We breathe and also talk. We do not take separate time to breathe and then we do conversation. Simultaneously, mind is doing 100 different things. Physically, we may be sitting here. Mind, how many times it went out of this house, thought of house, apartment, car, whether alarm is functioning or not, any sound comes, all the time. In fact, if we monitor through an instrument, it will be seen that the person was sitting empty, mind was doing other chores outside. So the one does not support the other. In fact, the hours of meditation and non-hours, they are often at contradiction. One is contradicting the other. My spiritual endeavor and my secular endeavor, they are at contradiction. And one which has more intensity will overcome the other. Hence, during meditation hours, instead of fixing the mind, we feel distracted. We think other things. Because those broodings invade into our prayer room. Similarly, during the non-meditation hours, there is no invasion of the meditative thought because its intensity is very less. What we do major part of the day and night, we will do also that during prayer. That's a simple thing. Because that is the refrain of the previous hours. The connection between the two hours fail because of lack of practice. Imbalance in practice, we can call it. Not a balanced practice. A person may be even more than 1 hour vigorously practicing, but other pursuits are not supporting. Profession, reading, friendship, communication, all these are not supporting that endeavor. That means one part of the mind is not supporting the other. Practice becomes improper when it is not enjoined with discrimination and dispassion. Spiritual pursuit begins with a tremendous dissatisfaction with the present state of things. Those who think of these pursuits, no matter in what religion, they are not ordinary run of people. They are microscopic minorities in the universe. Majority busy in making a living. Their attention is bogged down to the ground. They have no chance, scope to look around and look high. Pinned down. The very desire I would meditate is divine, a gift of God. A person, in spite of everything in the world, still feels there is lack of something. Person is not satisfied with creature comforts or what the world can give and promise. This is the beginning. Practice of meditation without discrimination, dispassion, it is bound to fail. Discrimination and dispassion keep the lower tendencies at bay, whereas the efforts to concentrate is another direction. So practice must be accompanied by discrimination, dispassion. Again, practice must be continuous. How shall I do when I am walking, when I am doing, when I am working? The answer is here. Meditation continues at different levels of the mind. One part of the mind meditates all the time. The yogi remains mounted on meditation all the time, even in dream. Ordinary persons waste 75% of their mind. With the 25, they think, work, do chores. 90% of the people cannot even use the 25. Those who can 25, they become world famous in any field. At the most 5, 10 they use. It is wasted. That is a great drain, psychological drain, which also induces physical drain because of the lack of discrimination. So what is happening then? When a person is doing other chores, he's meditating in his intellect. For some also, the second faculty also comes, emotion. In the action part, he is active. Part of the mind remains in state of meditation. Part of the mind do the other things. And therefore, it goes on that way. Then meditation hours, all the parts, they join. All feeling, thinking, action, which is exhibited through posture, they all join. We create an intensity. So they practice with, from the varieties of level, and practice with discrimination and dispassion. Without that, nothing is possible. Devoid of that, many, they remain in the same place. Meditation hour, they go 10 steps forward. Then again they come back 10 steps backward. As a result, all life standing in the same place. Many say that I have been doing this, nothing has happened. Same raw as before. No effort goes in vain. These efforts also will remain collected to give result at a certain opportune moment. So imbalance in practice is one of the reasons. Success depends upon, Bhagavad Gita says, practice. Practice depends upon regularity. Now in the earlier, practice does not mean is only practicing morning, evening or 4 quarters of the day. The rest of the time also I am practicing meditation. How? See, if my non-meditation hours are to support my meditative endeavor, then my profession, my company, my entertainment, my friendship, my walking, my relaxation, they must be connected with my meditative endeavor. Hence the necessity of holy company, pilgrimage, friendliness. These are also indirect practices. So Swami Vivekananda says, Dhyana yoga, yoga of meditation is not possible unless accompanied by yoga of devotion, yoga of discrimination, yoga of action. All the four are to be harmonized. During the meditation hours, the seeker is by himself or herself. He or she is the yogi there, wrapped in the thought. In the meditation hours, the person perceived the self with eyes closed. The world dropped up. Person dived deep into the deeper layer, making its way through wakeful and the dream memories. In the non-meditation hours, the person is coming up, coming out. When the person opens his eyes, what he would see? His meditation must continue. Meditative endeavor should go therefore both eyes open, both eyes closed. Generally we think it is meditation when I only close my eyes. When I open my eyes, I don't see. I'm supposed to see. So the two movements, the yogi is a mystic, or a contemplative is a mystic also. The mystic dives, deep dive. Then mystic surfaces again. Each time he dives, it goes different layers according to its strength, capacity. A diver, when he goes, he makes his dress light. Second, the diver, when he goes to the ocean front, he does not look toward the ocean skies. His purpose is to dive. He cannot have many paraphernalia. He cannot dive with his overcoat and hat. He has to take them off, make a light dress. He cannot dive if he is afraid of the sharks. What would happen? Some amount of risk is there. He has to take that. In order to dive, he holds his breath, which comes to the practice of called holding the breath, pranayama and other practices. There he holds his breath with attention, for concentration. Then he dives. Yogi therefore goes to the prayer room during the hours of meditation, leaving the world behind. He cannot bring the world into his prayer room. He should not. He must detach himself. The other times, he is different. So the seeker in the beginning, he has two hats, meditation hat, working hat. Entering into the prayer room, he should put his meditation hat. He should detach. Through his bathing, change of dress, and other paraphernalia, he gives suggestion. When he bathes, he actually washes himself off from all vibrations. It is an effect. He puts on a new dress, because in the dress also those associations are there. He does not keep things there with unholy association and object. The world drops off. He dies. Then he comes up. He comes up with a message. The return movement. There are two movements of the mystic. First movement, inward. Second movement, outward. We ignore and neglect this movement. We think he has only one movement. In the second movement, he comes out with a new message. And meanwhile, that first movement changed his personality. Each time the person dies and comes out, does not see the world in the same way as before. This is applicable to all. We may say that we don't feel that difference. I would say there is a difference. It may not be perceptible right now. You are not the same person. A deep, subtle change comes over. Each time you make an attempt, you are not the same person. In the structure, change comes. Even the very attempt. When he comes, he has to communicate with the world. There the yogi is a yogi of devotion. He looks upon the world as a transfiguration of the spirit, self. His own replicas. He's supposed to see that. This is being called realization. Bhagavad Gita speaks of two words, jnana vijnana sahitam. This truth is to be realized through jnana, intuitive knowledge, which is the depth of concentration and samadhi, vijnana, application of that samadhi knowledge in everyday life. The two movements give us two dimensions. The second movement, the yogi is a devotee. Either maybe a karma yogi or a bhakti yogi. He has to. What he realized, he brings forward. And he must verify. So a yogi, when he goes to work, meets people, that time his practice is yoga of unselfish activity. Both karma and bhakti devotion that are being used here. What about the jnana? He remains jnana yogi 24 hours. Swami Vivekananda gives the analogy of an airplane. An airplane has two wings, a tail, and the cockpit. Cockpit gives speed. The engine is there. The two wings maintain the altitude. Unless the airplane takes off, it is no airplane. The devotion and unselfish activity. These are the two wings which you do during non-meditation hours. Devotion is not just offering flower, incense and cake at the altar. God is worshipped with devotion. Worship has two aspects. Worship is in contemplation, worship is in devotion. God in all creatures. Upanishads speak of two aspects of God. God with eyes closed, supreme self, all-pervading. There is nothing, there is no world, only God. With eyes open, the myriad transformation of God, transfiguration. So the hours of meditation, where we perceive, get a glimpse of the all-pervading God, unless I am able to see with the eyes open that transfiguration, my practice is fruitless. For many people, they see God, feel thrill during meditation hours. And when their eyes are open, they feel chill. not thrill. Why? They are unable to see God in all. The Upanishad said, this God is more important, the living God. A person can feel compassion, devotion, sitting in the church. The moment he comes out, it becomes the world full of devils. Is that possible? Is it real? Is that a concept? Same mind is perceiving the two. Can one see only evil, threat, and also see God in the prayer room? That God in the prayer room is not true God then. It is a fantasy God. So the living God, unless worshipped, that person cannot see God in the prayer room, in a temple or a church. But this imbalance is there. Then for many, according to the religious denomination, they also see God. A Hindu in the prayer room sees God, a Hindu God. Outside, in a Hindu he may see perhaps Hindu God, but not in a Christian or a Muslim. Little caste system he makes. So the others also. A Christian may feel compassion when a Christian suffers, not so much for others. Upanishad says, these caste systems or denominations are for you. When the world was created, God did not create these things. Christian, Hindu. We created. So these barriers must be broken. One who he would treat the whole world and all as himself. As he would do to himself, he would do to others. So the two wings, devotional practices, which includes holy company, serving God in man, these are devotional practices, and practices of karma yoga. The two wings keep the airplanes up. The engine is giving speed, but the tail is giving direction. The cockpit without tail, it will create disaster. Cockpit and the tail without the two wings, it will make the airplane a museum piece, not in the sky. So therefore we need all the four. For the contemplative, during the meditation hour, he is 100% contemplative. During the working hours, he is a bhakti yogi or karma yogi. And 24 hours, he is a jnana yogi. Means awareness, discrimination. He keeps that awareness all the time. When all the four join according to the different time, then it succeeds. So since major part of our time, we think it is non-meditation hours, Bhagavad Gita says it is a waste. If only 2 hours are important out of 24, then there is a great amount of waste. My 22 hours are being wasted. What a terrible waste. Can one succeed? So I must use the non-meditation hours, somehow integrate with my meditative endeavor. Then it picks up. The practice picks up enthusiasm. In most cases, we will find that this imbalance is there. Often not conscious. We cannot integrate our non-meditation hours with meditation hours. So it has been said that dhyana yoga or concentration and meditation remain supported by bhakti yoga. Devotion remains supported by karma yoga, unselfish activity. Contemplation has its counterpart, unselfish action. I love God. I love God as my inner soul. That soul is the soul of all. This I feel during my meditation hour with eyes closed. When I open, I see the same God. Can I remain indifferent when the same God suffers, needs my help? What I do? What is the meaning of passive love and active love? Passive love is, I sit before you morning and evening and chant, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, a rosary. Active love is, I like to do something for you, what you need, for your satisfaction, for your pleasure. Think of, God has two devotees. One, according to perfect casual, 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 4:30, early dawn, he comes and he sits. With perfect intonation, he sings a praise. I love you, I love you. Another comes, gives a salute, goes out. At day's end comes, thinking what you need, what will be pleasing for you, he does. Whom you will like. Probably you will throw the person, first person, within 3 days. A bore, sitting, a botheration, chanting like a tape recorder, I love you, love you. Even an ordinary human being will do it, and not to speak of God. That is not love. Because in that love, I is most important. I love you, you come later. I love you. So therefore, the one goes with the other. So it should be supported by devotion. Devotion means feeling. Devoted to, no matter whether you follow any denominational religion, you must have devotion. Without devotion, there is no concentration. Devotion does not come unless the object is thought of to be a personal, which is next most important point to consider. In matters meditation, many think that they can choose an object, impersonal or personal. Many say, I can't think of God as a person. I like to see God, think of God as all-pervading spirit. Nice idea, but difficult to actualize. You cannot reach the impersonal unless you have transcended the personal. A person who cannot fix mind on the personal God, God as a God-man or a figure, cannot think of God as impersonal absolute. As a result, those who directly concentrate on impersonal unmanifest, for them, the object of worship is an abstract, cold, indifferent, unresponsive, a mechanical. When a person fixes mind on the cross in the Christian churches, if the cross is taken only as a figure, made of wood or metal, the cross will not answer. When the cross is taken as a symbol of a personality, then it will be responsive. Devotion is possible when the object is personal. Then devotion reaches knowledge. Then it becomes impersonal or absolute or all-pervading. Devotion is possible only when there is a backup practice of unselfish activity. Swami Vivekananda says that to sit down to meditate is possible only when you have been active first. You have raised whirlwind of unselfish activity. Then you acquire the right to sit down. People go to retreat. Retreat means you go there, sit, quiet. Means you are in the street, now you are in the retreat. One who has no street He has no retreat. I often say, what retreats go on here? I said, most of the time people in the retreats, in the solitary apartments, it's more solitary than a retreat. When they come together in some place, really that time they are in communication, the opposite. Other times they are little island. And during prayer time only they feel great compassion. Then compassion machine becomes closed. There is no connection between things. Love also like that. Passive love, wordy love, lip service. A man was talking to his friend. Recently he got married. The friend was asking how things are. He said, you see, my wife and myself, we lived separately. We cook separately. We eat separately. We, as far as possible, we stay away from each other. We don't talk to avoid lest there be an argument and quarrel. We are doing everything possible to keep our marriage together. This is a classic example. We are doing everything possible to keep our marriage together. This is the concept of a person. We don't want to see each other, lest explosions will happen. And we all live separately. We avoid. But these are the things we are doing to keep. That is a foolish man's doctrine. Similarly, my meditation hour and non-meditation hours, I am trying to make everything, the two are separate. But I feel I will see all-pervading spirit. This is my goal. So therefore, the unselfish activity is the backup. Renunciation and service, counterpart. A person who you think he has renounced, given up, and you don't find unselfishness, act of service, there must be something wrong. A contemplative does not feel devotion, is not worshipful. There must be something wrong somewhere. So therefore, contemplatively, hours of meditation and non-hours of meditation, they are vitally connected. To test our contemplative knowledge, the non-hours meditation provide us with the opportunity to test. Second, to enjoy. By making proper application. The field of action, everyday life, is a training ground for the mind. We cannot do mind training sitting solitary in our prayer room. That will be all wishful thinking. Training is made when I am in the field of activity with others. Karma Yoga gives the opportunity to discover ourselves. I may think I am nothing, worthless. When I am able to do something, I gain confidence. We discover that there was some other quality in me which I did not know. Karma Yoga, unselfish activity, takes the form of Bhakti Yoga or devotion in the second stage. Unselfish activity is bound to create devotion. Devotion is based on it. Being devoted, an attachment grows. That devotion brings brooding. In the third stage, the yogi becomes a contemplative. The first stage, the yogi is karma yogi. His meditation is indirect, not direct. His meditation is meditation of the intellect. Inside, with his hands he works, one part of the mind meditates. Most people, they can do that. It is a common experience. You will find that when you come out of your prayer room, that time your meditative mood comes. When you are sitting, it did not come. It is the nature of the mind, which you do not want to do, that time it will want to do. When you want to do, it will resist. If you say, I won't meditate today, that very day you will feel very meditative mood. This is the rule. And the day you want that, I want to meditate, you will find that day tornadoes are blowing. So therefore, since this is so, do in the midst of meditation, work. Since we do in other fields, we can do it easy. Then, after that, knowledge comes. Second movement. The yogi returns. When he returns, already the structure built, devotional structure, unselfish activity structure. When he is not meditating, what he would do? A person cannot meditate 24 hours. Particularly when he is progressing. What he will keep the mind on? He will keep the mind rested on devotional plane. All great yogis you will find. When his open eyes, he sees the word, the transfiguration of a divine. The way the person reached, he comes back the same way. Following one Godhead he reached, same Godhead he comes back. And he enjoys. Enjoyment comes when I have made my passive desire or realization into an active one. I gain confidence. The test of success in meditative endeavor is not what I see during my meditation hour, but what I feel during my non-meditation hour. The intensity of the knowledge which is created, it builds up. How long and how far in my non-meditation hour I can carry. Every person is carrying an atmosphere. Some can carry up to day's end. Then the intensity wears out. Then you recharge. For some, intensity is very less. For some, it does not develop. Right inside the prayer room, war starts. The person gets up. This is the test. So therefore, 3 stages he is moving. And the same 3 stages is coming back. The 2 movements of the mystic. Non-meditation hours, they give a feedback. Feedback which is modern times used, a confidence, ability to remain, to be able to see God, feel His presence, maintain calmness, composure. My calmness is not tested unless in the field of action. How far and how much I can bear. In one of the verses, Bhagavad Gita says, a yogi is he who can withstand the impacts of lust, anger, jealousy in this very life. He is a yogi. An umbrella is tested in rain. A yogi is tested in the field of non-meditation hours. A good speaker makes digressions, but never forgets the central theme. He comes back to it. A good dancer never makes a false step. Similarly, a contemplative, remaining firmly grounded on its contemplative knowledge, during his meditation hours, supported by his non-meditation hours, he remains firm in both the hours, steady. He bends, maneuvers, but his feet remain firm on the contemplative insight. In non-meditative hours, He busies himself, he meditates through his intellect and emotion. In meditative hours, he meditates with his whole mind. He makes effort for it. And he carries that atmosphere. So our success in this endeavor, our meditation hours should be fruitful, fruit-bearing, rewarding. When we are able to take care of the non-meditation hours, when they support my meditative endeavor, when my non-meditation hours, through its performances, aspirations, my study, all these, they create an intensity. So my non-meditation hours should be regarded as a preparation for my meditation hours. I go to work, earn money, meet people, read books, so that I will be able to meditate when I come back. This should be the attitude. My prayer room, I must expand. Instead of having a little room, slowly it should expand the whole and envelop the whole house. Then whole neighborhood, whole country, the whole universe. This is the expanding God consciousness. My spiritual endeavor, the intensity I generate during my prayer time, must pervade all my aspirations, hopes, my entertainment, enjoyment, everywhere. It must spiritualize everything. Then only my meditation hours would be worthwhile. Then only it will be enjoyable. Then it will be a practice of real revelation. Thank you. Om Jananing Sharadang Deving Ramakrishnan Jagadgurung Padapadame Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhur. We bow down to Mother Sarada and the great Master Sri Ramakrishna. We take refuge at their feet and bow down to them over and over again. Om, peace, peace be unto us and to all living beings.